I'm 73 years old, and I think about a man named Michael every single day. I haven't seen him in 47 years. I chose my parents' approval over my own life, and I've spent the last 40 years wondering what my life would have looked like if I'd been brave enough to choose differently. This is what a lifetime of regret actually looks like. There is a photograph I keep in the drawer of my nightstand. It's from 1971. I'm 24 in the picture, standing next to a man named Michael at a lake in Vermont. We're both laughing. My hand is on his arm, and if you look closely, you can see it, the way he's looking at me, like I'm the only person in the world. I haven't seen Michael in 47 years, but I think about him every single day. You see, I chose my parents' approval over my own life. I let them decide who I should love, who I should marry, what kind of future I should have. And I've spent the last 40 years wondering what my life would have looked like if I'd been brave enough to choose differently. I met Michael in 1969. I was 22, working as a secretary at an advertising firm in Boston. He was a photographer, freelance. He'd come into the office to drop off prints for a campaign we were running. He had this energy about him, curious, present, alive in a way most people weren't. We started talking about the photographs, then about other things. By the time he left, he'd asked if I wanted to get coffee sometime. We dated for 2 years, and they were the best 2 years of my life. Michael wasn't like the men my parents wanted me to marry. He didn't have a stable job with benefits and a pension plan. He didn't wear suits or talk about climbing corporate ladders. He took photographs of things that interested him, street scenes, people's faces, abandoned buildings. He made enough to get by, but he wasn't building wealth. He was building a life that felt meaningful to him. And I loved that about him. I loved that he cared more about capturing something real than impressing anyone. I loved the way he'd stop in the middle of a walk because the light hit a building in a certain way. I loved how he listened when I talked, really listened, like what I was saying mattered. I remember this one afternoon in the fall of '70. We'd driven out to the coast. It was October, cold enough that we needed jackets. We walked along the beach for hours, talking about everything and nothing. At one point, Michael stopped and turned to me and said, "I want to spend my life with you. I want to wake up next to you when we're old and still find new things to talk about." I felt it then. Not just love, but certainty. The kind of certainty you feel maybe once in a lifetime if you're lucky. This was the person. This was the life I wanted. But I hadn't told my parents about Michael yet. Not really. They knew I was seeing someone, but I'd been vague about the details because I knew what they'd say. My father was a banker. My mother came from a family with old money and older expectations. They had a very clear idea of what my life should look like. I should marry a man with a respectable career, a lawyer, a doctor, someone in finance, someone who could provide stability and social standing, someone who fit into their world. Michael didn't fit into their world. I finally brought him home for dinner in December of 1970. I was nervous, but I thought maybe if they met him, if they saw how kind he was, how intelligent, how much he cared about me, they'd understand. They didn't. The dinner was painful. My father barely spoke to him. My mother asked pointed questions about his career plans, his financial situation, his family background. Michael answered honestly, directly. He wasn't trying to impress them. He was just being himself. And that was exactly the problem. After Michael left, my parents sat me down. My mother did most of the talking. She said they were concerned about my future, that Michael seemed like a nice man, but not a practical choice, that love wasn't enough to build a life on, that I needed someone stable, someone established, someone who could give me the kind of life I deserved. My father said one thing. He said, "If you marry this man, you'll struggle your entire life, and we won't be able to help you." I know what you're thinking. You're thinking they were trying to control me, that I should have ignored them and followed my heart. And you're right, but you need to understand something about that time, about my family, about who I was then. I was 24 years old. I'd been raised to respect my parents' judgment, to value their guidance, to believe they knew better than I did. And I was scared of disappointing them, scared of being cut off from my family, scared that maybe they were right, that love wouldn't be enough, that I'd wake up in 10 years struggling financially and resenting Michael for it. So I made a choice. I chose safety. I chose approval. I chose my parents. I broke up with Michael in January of 1971. We met at a coffee shop. I'd rehearsed what I was going to say, but when I got there and saw his face, everything fell apart. I told him I couldn't do this anymore, that I needed something different, something more stable. He didn't argue. He didn't try to change my mind. He just looked at me and said, "Is this really what you want, or is this what someone else wants?" I didn't answer, because we both knew. He stood up, kissed me on the forehead, and left. And I sat there in that coffee shop and felt something inside me break that's never been whole since. My parents were relieved. Within 6 months, they'd introduced me to Richard. He was 31, worked in investments, came from a good family. We dated for a year. He proposed. I said yes. We got married in 1973. Richard was fine. That's the word I'd use. He was responsible, successful, polite. He provided well. We had a nice house, took respectable vacations, attended the right social events. From the outside, it looked exactly like what my parents had wanted for me. But I never loved him. Not the way I loved Michael. Not even close. Richard and I divorced in 1991. 18 years of marriage. No children. We tried for years, but it never happened. By the time we separated, we were just two people who'd run out of reasons to stay together. After the divorce, I thought about finding Michael. I thought about it constantly. I'd imagine running into him somewhere, what I'd say, whether he'd forgiven me, whether there was any chance we could start again. I never did it. By then, it had been 20 years. He'd moved on. He had to have moved on. And what would I even say? I'm sorry I chose my parents' approval over you. I'm sorry I wasted both our lives because I was too scared to disappoint people who've been dead for years now. My mother died in 2002. My father died in 2006. And the thing that haunts me is this. The life they wanted for me, it didn't make me happy. The stability, the social standing, the respectable marriage, none of it meant anything. I traded Michael, traded the possibility of real love and real partnership for a life that looked good on paper and felt empty in practice. Last year, I was going through some old boxes and I found a letter. Michael had written it to me a few months after we broke up. I'd never opened it. I think I was too afraid to. I opened it last year, 47 years late. He wrote that he understood why I'd made the choice I did, that he didn't blame me, that he hoped I'd be happy. And then he wrote this, "I want you to know that loving you changed me. It showed me what was possible. And even though we won't have a life together, I'll carry that with me. I hope someday you'll look back and remember that what we had was real." I sat on my bedroom floor and cried reading that letter because he was wrong about one thing. I didn't someday look back and remember. I never stopped remembering. For 47 years, I've carried the weight of that choice. I never remarried after Richard. I dated occasionally, but nothing ever felt right. Nothing ever felt like what I had with Michael. And I think part of me didn't want it to, because accepting that I could find that connection again would mean accepting that I threw away the first one for no good reason. I'm 73 now. I live alone in a small apartment. I have a few friends, some hobbies, a routine that keeps me busy. But I'm lonely in a way that has nothing to do with being alone. I'm lonely because I spent my life building something that wasn't mine. I lived in a shape that fits someone else's idea of what I should be. If I could go back and tell my 24-year-old self something, it would be this. Your parents' approval won't keep you warm at night. It won't make you happy. It won't fill the years between now and the end of your life. I know some of you are facing similar choices right now. Your family wants you to take the safe job, marry the acceptable person, live the life they've imagined for you. And you're torn because you love them, because disappointing them feels impossible, because maybe they're right and you're being naive. But here's what I learned too late. Your parents' vision for your life is based on their fears, their values, their generation's understanding of what matters. It's not based on who you actually are or what will actually make you happy. And when they're gone, and they will be gone sooner than any of us want to think about, you'll still be here, living with the choices you made. And if those choices were made to please people who are no longer around to see them, what was it all for? I don't know where Michael is now. I looked him up once, a few years ago. He got married in 1976, had 3 children. I saw a photograph of him from a gallery show in 2015. He was 68 in the picture. Gray hair, lines around his eyes. Still that same look of being fully present in the moment. I'm glad he found happiness. I really am. But I also wonder what our life could have been. What those 47 years would have looked like if I'd chosen differently. I think about the children we might have had, the home we might have built, the photographs Michael would have taken of our life together, the conversations we'd have had over decades, the way we'd have grown old together, still finding new things to talk about like he said he wanted. And I think about the version of myself I never got to be, the one who was brave enough to choose her own life, the one who trusted her own heart over everyone else's opinions, the one who understood that love like that doesn't come around twice. I gave that up. I gave up Michael, gave up the possibility of that life because I was afraid of disappointing 2 people who loved me but didn't really know me. And now I'm 73, sitting in an apartment full of things that don't matter, holding a photograph of a moment I can never get back. Don't do what I did. Don't trade your one life for someone else's approval. Don't spend 40 years wondering what if. Don't wake up at 73 and realize that the people you were trying to please are gone, and the life you wanted is gone, and all you have left is regret. If you love someone, if you found that rare connection that most people spend their whole lives looking for, fight for it. Even if it's hard, even if people don't understand, even if you have to disappoint the people you love to build the life you actually want. Because I promise you, the weight of their disappointment is temporary. The weight of your own regret lasts forever. If this meant something to you, leave a comment. Tell me what choice you're facing. Tell me if you're brave enough to choose differently than I did. And if you know someone who's living for everyone else's approval instead of their own truth, share this with them. Maybe it'll help them avoid spending half a century wondering what could have been. Thanks for listening.